Hi, how's it going? So the first term I have is a relational partner. All a relational partner is somebody you're talking with, somebody you're communicating with. That'll be your partner in the relationship. So for an example, from case study 13 on page 131, Jennifer asks Matt, "Why don't we hang out more often?" So Jennifer and Matt are both relational partners in this relationship. So next I have a strong tie. What a strong tie is just a strong relationship with somebody. I'm sure you have many strong ties. I have plenty of strong ties. You know, I'm a, I have a good relationship with my parents personally, so that there's someone I have a strong tie with. Uh, it, if you have a strong tie with somebody, it means you're more willing to share with them. Next, I have empathy. And what empathy is just the ability to connect with somebody emotionally, to be able to feel what they're feeling. So in that same case study, number 13, on page 131, Matt says encouragingly, I think she wants you to feel like you're part of the family. So Matt is empathizing right here that that she doesn't feel like she's part of the family, that she isn't connecting with Kelly the way she would like to. So Matt wants her to feel better about it. So next I have a channel, and what channel is it's just the means of communication. It's how the a message gets sent to the receiver. So in case study number 4, the story I saw her on page 45. It says she wants to talk about what it means to be Jewish American. When she says talk would be the channel. It's a verbal channel. It's through your mouth. The sound waves through the air. That is the channel in which the message is being sent to the receiver. Next, I have the sandwich approach, and what the sandwich approach is you put your criticism in between two positives. So I had a speech teacher in high school, and he was real big on the sandwich approach. He would use it a bunch. If he wanted to give you any constructive criticism, he would put it in between two positives, and it does. It makes you feel better about the criticism. It makes you feel like he's on your team, and it helps prevent you from becoming defensive about it. And next we have mixed messages. What a mixed message is when your verbal communication contradicts with your nonverbal communication. So in case study 13, the embarrassment of public exposure, on page 31 it says, Kelly had expected them to act as if they've known each other all their lives. So Kelly's expecting them to act, and she is acting like they've known each other all lives. She's playing into the game, acting like they know each other real well. But in reality, they don't, and their nonverbal communication likely going to show that they don't know each other as well as they're verbally saying so. Next, we have a selective perception. So a personal example of selective perception is I'm in a fantasy football league. I have a wide receiver. His name's Jamar Chase. He was supposed to be really good, a top 5 draft pick. He hasn't been good. Just about all season, he's been struggling. But every week, he's in my lineup. Like, this is gonna be the week he's good. So I'm perceiving him as being good, even though he's been struggling just about all season long. He hasn't been helping me a whole lot. And then we have impression management. And what impression management is, it's how we act in order to influence how other people perceive us. So I was working with a guy, and every morning he would bring breakfast tacos to the boss. There was a foreman position opening up, and he was bringing tacos every morning. Well, that foreman position ended up going to somebody else, and all of a sudden the tacos quit. So he was trying to flatter this boss into giving him a position that he was trying to make himself look like he was a better guy than he was. And then next we have a self-serving bias. And what that is, it's attributing positive outcomes to our own but attributing a negative outcome to something else. So for example, I knew a guy in high school, and if he did really good on a test, it was because he was just that smart. But if he didn't do all that great on the test, it was the teacher had a grudge on him. He didn't study. He had all kinds of excuses to why he didn't do great on the test. So what hearing is hearing is literally just hearing sound. So you heard the snap right there. Versus listening, what listening is actually understanding a message. It's perceiving the sounds and then interpreting those sounds into a message. So my mom, she's real bad about that. She can hear every word you say and she can repeat every word you say, but she didn't listen at all. She had no idea what you were talking about. Just because she can hear the words doesn't mean she knows what's happening. And then you have pseudo listening, and pseudo listening. I'm sure you have plenty of experience with pseudo listening. It's when someone's pretending to listen without actually listening. So I'm pretty positive you have plenty of students in your class who pseudo listen all the time. You have affectionate language, which is just language used to show liking for another person. So you hear affectionate language plenty. If you go out and you're at a restaurant, for example, you'll hear people say, oh, you hear couples around you saying, I love you too, and all that. So then you have a connotation versus denotation. What connotation is it's a subjective meaning. It's how you interpret language versus how I interpret language. And then denotation is the objective, what language literally means. So I was at a restaurant and I heard these two girls next to me, and they're saying, I have some hot tea. So the connotative language there would be they're going to be gossiping about something, whatever that something is. But the denotative language there is that they literally have tea that is hot. And that ties back into cultural idioms too. What a cultural idiom is just any idiom specific to a culture. So hot tea, for example, is specific to American culture. I was talking to my dad, and he said that something I said was about as clear as mud, which means it wasn't clear at all. I didn't communicate effectively, and that the message wasn't received. Next, we have a powerless language. What powerless language is just any language that removes the validity of what you're saying. It makes you sound like you're less sure of yourself. I can't stand people when they say I think. I can't stand I think. I don't care what you think. Yeah, I don't care what you know. Right. So next we have nonverbal communication. And that's any communication that's not verbal language that we're speaking. So I've been told that I could make better eye contact with people, and that if I was to make better eye contact while speaking, people will it shows you you're paying better attention to what you're hearing, and also demands some respect when you're speaking to somebody else and you're looking them in the eye. And then we have vocal volume. That's an example of a nonverbal communication, how loud you're speaking. So Thanksgiving this year, I had some family members that got in an argument, and they both started talking louder than the other one. They're both trying to demand the attention on themselves. They want the other person to hear what they're saying. So that vocal volume is communicating that fact that what I have to say is the most important thing right at the moment. And then you have interactive adaptation theory, and that's just that your nonverbals should adjust to the situation. So if I wanted to have a long conversation with somebody about something serious, I might sit down to have that conversation rather than standing the whole time. Since I know it's going to be a long, serious conversation, my nonverbal would adjust to fit that. Then we have emotional expression, and that's just people showing their emotions, how you express your emotions. Right. So I attended a funeral back in May, and my sister, she was crying, and that's how she was expressing her emotions at the time. She felt sad, and that came out. Then the fallacy of should is thinking that other people will think the same as you do. So I like to play poker. I play poker about once a week, and so a few weeks ago, a guy brings in a new player he's never played before, and so you're expecting him to think like you do, you to know some of the rules better. So you're making your decisions based on what he's putting in, but in reality, he has no idea what's happening. He's just going all in, and he has crap. And then you have validation, and that's just understanding what another person is feeling and validating how they're feeling. So back to that funeral example, my mother was hugging my sister while she was crying. That's validating how she's feeling. That's yeah. So next we have a rules theory. That's just every relationship is held together by rules. So I have a really good friend of mine, and when he texts, I normally text back with at least within the day. If I didn't text back within that same day, you'd probably think I was ignoring him, and we wouldn't be friends very long if I just ignored him all the time like that. We have small talk, and small talk. It's kind of what we're doing. It's what a lot of people do when they first meet somebody. It's just hey, how you doing? I'm doing all right. What do you do? Do it all the time. I do it all the time. You meet someone new, it's all small talk. You're not talking about anything serious. You're not talking about politics or nothing. And then you have a relational cost, and what a relational cost is literally the cost of having a relationship. So if I get in an argument with my partner all the time, it ain't gonna make me feel good, and that's gonna be the cost of having that relationship, is having this argument all the time. And then we also have a interpersonal conflict, and that's just conflicts within a relationship. So in case study number 24, big change from the small packages, on page 230, it says if she would communicate more, then we wouldn't have as many problems. So that's an interpersonal conflict. One person believes the other person isn't communicating as much as they should be. And then we have overt conflict, and that's conflict that's communicated directly. So I was working with a guy, and he was really good at that. Anytime he had anything to say, he would come to you, privately and professionally, but he would let you know, hey, I don't like what you're doing. So and I do appreciate that. That really does eliminate a lot of conflict if you go about it that way. So next we have a power play, which is when one person acts like, which is when people have repeated power moves in order to accomplish what they want. So I used to work with a guy, and he loved to act like he was the boss. He would walk around, chest all puffed out. You'd comment on whatever work I did. I did some work. He'd be walking around. I really don't think you should have done it that way. Well, me personally, I really don't care what you think. you know. And then we have solution-based communication, which is just solving problems. Instead of focusing on the cause of an issue, you're focusing on how to fix the issue. So next we have individualistic culture. So my mom, when I turned 18, she wanted me to pay rent, act like an adult. And that comes from a very individualistic culture. The United States in general has a very individualistic culture. You make it happen for yourself. You don't rely on anybody else to do anything for you. If you can't do it yourself, then no one else is going to do it for you. And then we have biological sex, and that's literally just the sex you're assigned at birth, whatever it says on your birth certificate. So I'm personally a man, and if you look at my birth certificate, it's gonna say male. If you look at my driver's license, it's gonna say male, and because I'm a man. And then we have dichotomous thinking, which is just thinking in binaries. It's thinking in black and white. It's either this or that. So I knew a guy in high school who failed a test, and you fail the first test, and all of a sudden you're just awful at economics. But when in reality, he might just not have studied enough for that one test. In the next test, he would have done a lot better had he applied himself. Then we have a dopamine loop. What a dopamine loop is just a cycle of addiction. It's just is looking for dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical in your brain that gives you pleasure. So when you're in a cycle of addiction, you're looking for that dopamine. I know myself personally, I probably have a technology addiction. I haven't gone a I haven't gone a day without my phone in years. I mean, just years. I'm on my phone, my screen time. I'm like 5 6 hours a day on my phone. It really is quite a bit. And then next we have technology mediated communication. So that's just any communication that happens through technology, using technology as a channel. So I mean, I have, you know, I have a phone, so I call and text people. That's all technology mediated communication. I have social media. I have Snapchat, so I communicate a lot on Snapchat. Snapchat's probably the place I communicate the most. So next we have a moral absolutism. And what that is it says that an action is either good or bad, regardless of the situation. So you can say stealing is wrong, regardless of the situation, regardless of circumstance. If you steal something, you're in the wrong. But other people argue for moral relativism. So on that same example, you can say, well, what if somebody is stealing in order to feed their family? They're just stealing bread so they can feed their family. They don't have the money to buy it. So you can make that argument too. You can say anyway. Next is a duping delight, and what a duping delight is just the enjoyment out of fooling somebody. So like I said earlier, I play poker about once a week, and whenever I play poker, if I go for a bluff, I'm gonna get some enjoyment out of fooling somebody, and yeah. Anyway, and then low stake deception. It's just any deception that doesn't have high risk. So if you're caught deceiving somebody, it doesn't matter a whole lot compared to high stake deception, which high stake deception means has a lot of risk. If you're caught, that's gonna have big implications. So low stake deception, back to poker. If I'm caught bluffing, it doesn't matter. Like, oh, I got caught, whoops, and then we move on with our lives. But let's say I murder somebody and I'm lying about it to the interrogators. That has a lot of risk lying. I would, if I came clean, I could probably get a guilty plea and get some years off prison and all that. So anyway.